Thank you so much for having me here today, and thank you for those of you who stayed for a politician to speak and not somebody who's making a tech announcement today. I very much appreciate it. It's now 3 weeks and 1 day until the general election. I'm sure you can't wait for this process to be over. But at that point, and I have to make the political point, I'm afraid, because I'm here during a general election campaign, but at that point, voters will choose which party has the more compelling vision for Britain going forward, which is more capable of helping to grow the British economy, to deliver the ambitions that we all have for our country, and which has the plans in place to deliver on their promises. It's a choice between continuing the chaos and decline of the last 14 years or turning the page, embracing the challenges and the huge opportunities of change. Nowhere is that choice more clear than in how our country is equipped to address the challenges of the next technological revolution. I have seen British innovators working at the cutting edge, from new medical devices which transform patients' lives to quantum sensors which change how we build. They need a government that will back them. Today, I want to set out Labour's plans for how Britain can best harness the potential of new technology for the benefits of all working people. If we are privileged to serve, the defining mission of the Labour government will be to have the highest sustained economic growth in the G7. That's why a Labour government will place a premium on partnering with the technology sector to create the massive opportunities and benefits for working people that the new technological revolution represents. Labour will place technology at the heart of our missions and unblock the tech barriers to restart the engine of our economy. It's why we want to harness the skills of Britain's most talented technologists, the developers, the designers, the data scientists, to build and sustain the most dynamic technological environment for our country, to enable British businesses to compete in new global markets, to upskill British people for the new jobs and opportunities that will be created, and to transform citizens' experience of interacting with the British state so it becomes more personalised and less paper shuffling, more online and less on hold, more convenient and less time-consuming. When I became the Shadow Secretary of State 9 months ago, people asked me if Labour would keep the Department for Science, Innovation and Technology. I can confirm that Labour will keep DSIT to harness the power of science and technology to fuel the economic growth and transform our public services. Labour will provide stability with 10-year funding budgets for our key R&D bodies and build on the work of the AI Safety Institute. In fact, we want to go much further. With Labour, DSIT will become the digital centre for government. It will be a dynamic, innovative resource for other departments responsible for delivering common platforms and reforming roadblocks to data exchange across the public sector. And it will catalyse the use of digital and data to accelerate our 5 national missions. And crucially, DSIT will work on boosting adoption of digital technology, including AI, by business across the economy. Our Regulatory Innovation Office will help new innovations which don't fit neatly into the existing system. Because the Office of Budget Responsibility have said that there is enormous potential here, which is just simply being missed. In their November outlook last year, the OBR published a scenario where artificial intelligence has been widely adopted. It led to a 0.5 percentage point increase in national productivity. The impact of that on public finances is quite astonishing. The headroom would have increased by £72 billion in the 5th year of the forecast. It is staggering for me that the government saw this potential and simply left it on the table. A Labour government, led by Keir Starmer, the Change Labour Party, and myself, would never turn its back on this potential. If that is the potential that is out there, We want to go and grab it, seize it, and help you benefit from it. So don't underestimate the scale of ambition that we have for our country and for your sector. What is needed is a clear strategy which considers the entire tech economy and the turbocharge that we want to give it. Because if we're going to get the growth we need, then we need to take businesses of all sizes reaching and help them to reach their full potential. Under the Conservatives, small businesses have been locked out of the procurement system. They must contend with ever-increasing requirements, micromanagement, and loads of red tape. Startups left waiting months on end to get a decision from government. Today, I can announce that Labour will support startups and encourage innovation by cutting red tape and streamlining the bidding process. We will modernise and update procurement frameworks. These changes will enable innovation in public sector, in public services, as well as supporting Britain's small businesses in order to scale. This will be critical to achieving Labour's missions, from an NHS that's fit for the future to higher economic growth. The digital economy we want, because the digital economy we want will thrive. It will thrive and be underpinned by data. We can get better health, better education, better jobs, and better growth if we can unlock the power of data. For example, data can inform vaccine development, as happened during COVID-19, data on the structure of distribution of earnings in the UK, on the factors that influence productivity and prosperity, on decarbonisation and green growth. But too often, researchers and innovators are blocked when they try to find the data that they need. Getting access is too cumbersome, and it simply takes too long. Labour will create a new national data library to bring together existing data programmes and give it clear ministerial accountability. The library will provide improved, secure access to good quality public data for the accredited researchers and innovators in pursuit of better policy making, innovations that improve everybody's lives. We will do this securely and safely and always for public benefit. We believe there are overwhelming benefits for people from safe, responsible use of data. A Labour government shall make that case and act to rebuild the trust that's been squandered by the Conservatives. To bring together these policies, we need to address the biggest blocker to growth that our economy faces. Under the Conservatives, the planning system has become a brake on business. Private investment is refused and jobs are simply not created. In the last year, we've seen ministers blocking a £2 billion data centre because of the effect it would have on the view from the M25. This, to me, is pure economic vandalism. Labour will be different. We will update the national planning policy to reflect the importance of data centres. And for the first time, Labour will bring data centres into scope for nationally significant infrastructure. This will turbocharge decisions on them, and it will boost economic growth. Tech UK has estimated that each new data centre contributes between £397 million and £436 million per year to the economy. Combined with our plans to upgrade the grid, we can bring these benefits to all parts of our economy and our country. Finally, we need to address how to equip British citizens with the skills and knowledge to take full advantage of the new technological revolution and the products that you are all creating. Upskilling people's digital skills is key to growing the economy. Too many people don't have the skills, the confidence, or the connectivity to use modern technology, leaving them increasingly isolated as citizens, patients, parents, and grandparents too. The route to greater productivity, increased participation, and improved access to public services relies on every citizen being equipped with the confidence and skills to use technology. The government's own estimates calculate that digital skills shortages are costing the UK economy £63 billion every year. Labour sees digital skills as an essential for the jobs of the future. So as part of our national curriculum review, we will ensure that school lays the right foundations for young people to grow, upskill and reskill throughout their lives. And Labour will collaborate with charities like the Good Things Foundation, learning from the National Data Bank and how it's been delivered in Greater Manchester and Get Online London, where local communities are already benefiting. A Labour government will lead by example by looking to donate appropriate laptops, tablets and phones to digital inclusion schemes when they're no longer needed or used by government departments. Once they're cleaned up and secured, they can be reused by people who need them instead of being put into landfill. So the choice on July 4th will be between more chaos with the Conservatives or real change with Labour. A change to support the British tech entrepreneurs, technology businesses, and the universities to compete and to win internationally. A change to equip British workers with the skills they need to make the most of the new job opportunities that technology presents. And given DSIT's work, greater focus and impact is crucial to delivering that change. To do so will require a genuine partnership with the technology industry and universities. Just this week, I visited Imperial College, a great example of the private sector and a university research working together on medical and medical innovations. It's truly pioneering. At the moment, the government only adds planning delays and a lack of support and a lack of strategy to these economic ingredients. My question: why isn't government the third partner instead of the most significant barrier? There are no easy answers, but I do know that the starting point is ambition and the desire to change the culture. That is how we will grow the economy, transform opportunity, and give everyone a stake in our country's future technological success. 60 years ago, a former Labour Prime Minister, Harold Wilson, challenged the country to face the future with confidence. He argued that prosperity required Britain to embrace the white heat of the scientific revolution. The Britain of 2024 would be unrecognisable to his generation of Labour leaders, but the challenge they set then endures to our time now. Because it is only by embracing the power and potential of technology that Britain can once again become an industrial powerhouse. It is only by leading the discoveries, development, and deployment of new technologies that we can set the pace of change rather than continually trying to catch up. It is only by skilling and reskilling our citizens that we can ensure the long-term prosperity and security of working people across Britain. And it is only through a genuine partnership between technologists, universities, businesses, entrepreneurs, and yes, the government, that we can fully achieve Britain's real potential for economic growth and prosperity in the next technological revolution. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Peter. Are there questions from the floor? Yes. So I'll just go these two, please. We've got the runners. Thank you.
Hi there, Nick Carroll from Sky News. How does Labour plan to approach regulation of AI once you're in government?
So quite straightforwardly, we're going to keep the AI Safety Institute. We want to put it on a statutory footing. At the moment, there's voluntary codes regulating AI, particularly the frontier AI. We would put it on the statutory footing and legislate to require the frontier AI labs to release their safety data. That's to make sure that we legislate for the standards that are already in voluntary codes. We don't seek to disrupt the voluntary codes, but we'll certainly make sure that they're maintained, and any new entrants into the market will know that there's a legislative foundation that must be adhered to.
Thank you. Second row back. Yep. Yep.
Thank you very much. Richard Barker. I work on technology and healthcare in particular, which you touched on. Lots of great points. But the biggest problem that technology companies in the healthcare sector, and it may apply in others, is the fragmented and slow process of the adoption of technology. What would be your plans in conjunction with Department of Health and Social Security to actually de-bottleneck an extremely painful process?
Thanks. We've been doing a lot of work and thinking on this. Wes Streeting, the Shadow Health Secretary, and I, we've shared an office since we both came in 2015, and he started making jokes to stakeholders that after the election, our partnership is going to be so important that we'll continue sharing an office afterwards. And then so many stakeholders went up to him afterwards saying, actually, that's not a joke. We really want that kind of closeness. He stopped making the joke now. But we've been doing a lot of work. If you look back at our life sciences strategy that we released earlier this year, the spread of innovation or the diffusion of innovation through the NHS for the first time is going to become a departmental responsibility for directly the Secretary of State, if it's Wes Streeting himself. We know that the NHS has got better at allowing trials to happen within the NHS, but we're in a perverse situation where when NHS is used for clinical trials, the innovation is then developed by often partnerships between private sector universities or one or t'other of them. But when they come back with the completed innovation, which can increase life, the health, tackle some key diseases, sometimes doing so in different ways or ways that shorten the medical process, it is extremely hard to have that innovation diffused throughout the NHS. And what you're ending up relying on is a few pioneering chief executives of either hospitals or health trusts in order to do it themselves, but it doesn't go right across. So I know this sounds like it's a sort of intergovernmental issue rather than the sort of thing people can be talking about up and down the country, but it is our commitment that the Health Secretary himself, working with the Secretary of State for DSIT, will streamline and take responsibility for the diffusion of innovation right across the NHS, because it needs to have that kind of support.
Yeah.
Hi, Jonathan Adams. I'm involved in angel investing and also entrepreneurship at Cambridge University. Thanks very much for an interesting discussion and talk. I think it's universally acknowledged that we do a great job in this country at pre-seed and seed investing, and the ecosystem is very strong. We fail quite poorly in terms of scale-up financing. What would Labour plan to do about that, and, for example, using existing institutions like, say, British Business Bank? Thank you.
Thank you. Again, this is something that I've been working closely on with Rachel Reeves. Ever since the week I was appointed back in September last year to this role, I've heard directly from people that there are challenges with the undercapitalisation of the market, particularly when it gets to scale up of a certain size. We are good, and when you look at the data backs it up at spinning out, we are good at actually getting some spin-outs off the ground, a lot of spin-outs off the ground. But when we get to that certain point, I know you call it the valley of death, but when you get to that certain point, the number of domestic VCs that have the capacity to invest at that level at scale and in quantity just dwindles. And of course, there's probably here some VCs from the States who actually can make decisions much faster, and of course it is leading to this fact. Now, I myself was over in California earlier this year, in Washington, talking to policymakers, and California meeting tech companies, but also meeting a whole bunch of people who had left the British economy to go to America simply because of the funding constraints. And of course, you can imagine the difficulty, it was for me to hear why so many people who wanted to remain here, but simply cared so passionately about their innovation, that they wanted to go to the place where it could have the best chance of succeeding. And also, many of those were actually in health. The majority of them were health-related. We have the NHS. We have the ability to connect with every citizen in the length and breadth of the United Kingdom and Northern Ireland. We should see this as an advantage here. So Rachel and I have been doing a lot of work on the market and the VC market, and also working with lots of institutional investors to see where the barriers are. I can't speak on behalf of Rachel and the economy on this, but you will see a lot of activity between now and the activity in post and manifesto launch, the election, and should we have the opportunity to serve, because we have been doing a lot of preparatory work. We know that pension reform is part of that. We know that the London Stock Exchange is part of it, and the capitalisation and the challenges they have. I and Rachel have both met with the chief exec of the stock market. We're very, very aware of the barriers, and we know that there are some regulatory issues that we can tackle on it. However, we have to get growth into the economy. Our primary mission planning reform, regulatory reform, building 1.5 million houses. The things that will get the economy going will enable us to do the things we need to do in order to invest right throughout the economy and our public services, and we never forget that priority.
Thank you. Front row, please.
Hi there, Paul Craig, founder of View Torch Pictures Media, film and television production startup. Just a very simple question, it's almost a follow-on from the previous question. Is there anything the Labour government will be able to do to allow businesses to access cheaper money for longer from the banking sector?
Well, what we're not going to do is instruct banks on how to run their businesses. But again, we can't do any of this kind of reform. Or banks, I mean, look, banks want to be investing more in businesses. They can only do so when they're operating in a functional, growing market and economy. Right now, we've heard that the growth rates for our economy today have reduced back to zero. So we have zero growth in the economy, which means we have zero growth, which is why we have to have such high taxation. And it means that banks themselves, with the state of inflation, have been really squeezed in the amount of money they've been able to put into the kind of businesses such as your own. So once we get the basics of running the economy right again, these sorts of things can fit into place. We are very, very attuned to the need to get the capitalization market, the capital market, the VC market flying here. Because what we can't do is just make sure we have one of the greatest innovation resources and markets in the whole world, with businesses working brilliantly with universities producing fantastic skills. I'm proud of the Golden Triangle. I'll never talk down the Golden Triangle. I just want to make sure we have other parts of the country that can match their kind of scale of investment. But we can't just be a country that produces innovations and talent that then flees to the rest of the world to benefit from it because they have the capital to invest in it. We know that this is a fundamental weakness of our system. It's something we're very attuned to, but the first step has got to be to stabilize the economy, to invest, and then to reform and deliver the kind of fundamental change that you all need.
Thank you. Right, we're going to have 2 more questions. If I can take one more from the front row, please, and then we'll go to the final one.
It's all boys.
Hi, Peter.
I know.
Sorry, hi.
Hi, Peter. Myself, I'm Rojan Robert, Innovation Leader. So my question is the current government, they're giving importance to the technology and making AI as a forefront in the UK. So what are the new things that, say for example, if Labour comes to the power, what you will do so that you will convince the business leaders like us so that you will take it forward? Do you have any new plans to make the UK government better in positioning in AI, or are you planning to continue with the existing regulations and plans the current government has put forward?
Thank you. Again, I've met now with so many potential global investors who simply say their first barrier to investing in Britain is stability. The number of people, it's so quite painful to be speaking to somebody who is responsible for billions of pounds of potential investment, and they're looking at several other countries to invest in, and then for them to say, but are you going to have another 4 chancellors in 1 year? Are you going to have another 5 prime ministers in 8 years? They know the facts. And to speak with globally recognized investors and figures, business figures, that understand and see the challenges that Britain has been put through in recent years, and to see that as a barrier to invest is really difficult. So until we can tackle those core challenges our country faces, we're not going to be able to deal with the specifics. The second thing is about regulation. In a post-Brexit world, there are 3 territories here now which are going to have this big impact. You've got the EU, the US, and Britain, and what we do. What I'm not going to do is disrupt the regulatory framework, because what companies who are looking to invest here and already are in the midst of multi-billion-pound investments in AI in our country, which is to be welcomed, is to be disruptive. But we do need to work together with other territories to make sure that as disruptive innovations come through, we have a regulatory landscape that is reflexive enough to give new technologies a soft landing, and legislators aren't always retrospectively legislating to keep up with the harms that have been done before, or failing to capitalize on the opportunities that are presenting themselves. I'm not saying it's easy, but this is something that has been exercising me ever since the very day that I was appointed to this job. I think we have to be much more reflexive in our regulatory environment, and what I seek to do is create a regulatory environment that incentivizes investment, but is also somewhere that has very high standards and expectations of people who invest in our country, that they do so with consumers and service users, British citizens, first and foremost in their mind, so it creates more opportunities and we mitigate, by working together, the potential for damage or harm.
Okay, Peter, we're going to take one more, and it's this lady over here.
Hi, I'm Casey. I'm from a British scale-up called Vorbos, and we provide connectivity infrastructure, so I'm always happy to talk about planning. My question is, you've talked a lot about growth, so do you see DSIT as an economic department?
Oh, what a fantastic question. Yes, with Labour, in 3 weeks, 1 day, if we win, DSIT will become an economic department, and it will become a delivery department. It will be seen as both. Economic, because we will see a key part of our role, as I sort of alluded to in this speech, as making sure that technology is available and diffused throughout the economy. As a delivery department, because you heard in the speech also, we want to capture innovations that are out there and be the conduit to it for government. We want to bring technology into government, the way government transacts itself and uses data across government departments, but crucially, absolutely essentially, to transform the relationship that service users have with public services, whether that be health, education, or be with the HMRC. We want to make sure that people are empowered with information, that the bureaucracy and red tape that people have to go through to interact is cut down. Why is it that things like, for somebody who's such a frequent train user, that 10 years ago, the amount of time I spent queuing for tickets has now been eliminated, and actually it's quite exhilarating to know what platform things are going to arrive on, trains are going to arrive on an hour in advance. I never thought I would actually enjoy the process of planning for travel by train, but actually some of the new apps enable that. Well, I don't see why we can't have similar expectations of the way we interact with some government departments and public services. That's why I said in the speech here today that I want to see DSIT become a resource that government departments can lean on, because we are able to harness the very best of innovation that's out there, represented in rooms like this, and make sure it's put to use for public and the way they interact with our public services. And yes, vice versa, make sure that we're doing absolutely everything we can as a partner to business and a partner to technology companies to make sure that technology and emerging technology is used throughout the economy, from the very, very top, right the way through to the medium and right the way through to the small business sector, so that every one of them can be as productive as possible, because that's what every worker needs, every business needs. It's certainly what our economy is desperate for right now.
Thank you. Data, skills, growth, we've heard it all, but thank you, Peter, so much for sharing your time and sharing it with the industry on our stage. Thank you.
Thanks. Really great.